In today's gripping story, a seasoned lawyer takes on what seems like an open and shut case, defending a man who swears he's innocent. The stakes are high, the courtroom tense, and every eye is on the jury. The lawyer pours his heart into the defense, convinced justice will prevail. But as the verdict is read, his confidence turns to disbelief, and then to fury. What could have gone so wrong? Was it a flaw in his strategy, a betrayal, or something far more sinister? Stay tuned as we unravel the twists, uncover hidden truths, and explore how one man's fight for justice becomes a shocking tale of courtroom drama and human emotion. This story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice and loyalty. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of the judge's gavel echoing off the walls. The lawyer sat frozen, his mind racing as the words of the verdict replayed in his head. How could this have happened? He had spent weeks poring over evidence, questioning witnesses, and crafting every argument with precision. His client, a quiet man with tired eyes, had maintained his innocence from the very beginning. There was no motive, no solid proof, just circumstantial claims that didn't add up. The jury, however, seemed unconvinced. The lawyer couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Had someone tampered with the case? Or had he missed a critical detail? As his client was led away in handcuffs, the lawyer's frustration turned to determination. He wasn't just fighting for his client anymore, he was chasing the truth. As the lawyer sat in his office that evening, the weight of the verdict pressed heavily on him. His mind replayed every moment of the trial, the cross-examinations, the evidence he presented, even the subtle glances exchanged in the courtroom. Something didn't sit right. The prosecution's case had been thin at best, relying on witness testimonies that felt rehearsed and a timeline that had holes large enough to drive a truck through. He thought about his client, a man who barely spoke, yet his sincerity seemed undeniable. What if the real story was buried under lies? Determined to dig deeper, the lawyer decided to revisit the evidence. He pulled out case files, photographs, and recordings. Then he noticed it, a small, overlooked detail in a police report. Could this be the key to unraveling the mystery? Or was it another dead end? As the lawyer sat in his office that evening, the weight of the verdict pressed heavily on him. His mind replayed every moment of the trial, the cross-examinations, the evidence he presented, even the subtle glances exchanged in the courtroom. Something didn't sit right. The prosecution's case had been thin at best, relying on witness testimonies that felt rehearsed and a timeline that had holes large enough to drive a truck through. He thought about his client, a man who barely spoke, yet his sincerity seemed undeniable. What if the real story was buried under lies? Determined to dig deeper, the lawyer decided to revisit the evidence. He pulled out case files, photographs, and recordings. Then he noticed it, a small, overlooked detail in a police report. Could this be the key to unraveling the mystery? Or was it another dead end? The lawyer's pulse quickened as he examined the overlooked detail, a timestamp on the police report that contradicted the testimony of the key witness. If this was accurate, it would shatter the prosecution's entire narrative. But why hadn't anyone noticed it before? Was it an honest oversight, or was someone trying to bury the truth? Fueled by this discovery, he began connecting the dots. Phone records, security footage, and testimonies he had dismissed as irrelevant now painted a different picture. Slowly, a pattern emerged, one that suggested his client wasn't just innocent, but might have been framed. But by whom, and why? Each new clue brought him closer to answers, but also deeper into a tangled web of deception. As he prepared to confront those involved, the lawyer realized he wasn't just fighting for justice. He was putting himself in danger. As the lawyer prepared to act on his findings, a call came late at night. The voice on the other end was shaky, almost whispering. "You're digging in places you shouldn't," the caller said. Before the lawyer could respond, the line went dead. His heart raced. Was this a warning or a threat? And who was behind it? Determined not to back down, he doubled his efforts. The deeper he dug, the more unsettling the truth became. Documents disappeared, witnesses suddenly became uncooperative, and even his trusted investigator began acting strangely. Then came the bombshell. Someone within the legal system, someone powerful, had a vested interest in ensuring his client was found guilty. The stakes had never been higher. He was no longer just fighting for his client's life. He was battling a system rigged against the truth. The lawyer stormed into court with new evidence in hand, determined to expose the truth. The judge allowed an emergency hearing, and the room buzzed with tension. Piece by piece, he presented the discrepancies. The mismatched timestamps, the altered documents, and the connections pointing to a high-ranking official orchestrating the entire case. Gasps filled the courtroom as the picture became clear. His client was a scapegoat in a far-reaching cover-up. The prosecutor, visibly shaken, tried to object, but the evidence was undeniable. Just as the judge prepared to overturn the verdict, the unexpected happened. The key witness stood up and confessed to lying under oath, but not voluntarily. "They threatened my family," she said, tears streaming down her face. As the courtroom erupted, the lawyer realized the battle wasn't truly over. He had won this case, but the fight for justice was far from finished. As the gavel struck, the judge declared the charges against the lawyer's client dismissed. Relief washed over the room, but the victory felt bittersweet. The man who had spent months fighting for his freedom could finally go home, yet the scars of what he endured remained. Outside the courtroom, the lawyer promised him this wasn't the end. "We'll hold them accountable," he said, vowing to expose the corrupt forces that orchestrated the case. In the days that followed, the lawyer uncovered more evidence, leading to investigations into those who manipulated the system. The truth began to surface, proving that even against overwhelming odds, justice could still prevail. As he walked away from his office one evening, he reflected on the case. Sometimes the fight isn't just about winning, it's about refusing to give up.